So, Bob, how many years have you been going around in circles?
I started in '64 and stopped racing at the end of '99, so at about 35.
Yeah. And that's not counting the fact that you've stayed involved with Grant since then as well. That was just your racing.
Since '99, I've been here in some form, either as an owner or an official, or both.
You got out of the sport quite suddenly as a driver. I was talking to Grant about that. You sold your car to David Murcott, I believe, down in Warrnambool, and you pretty well didn't come back.
Yeah, I sold it to the Murcott sponsor, and the reason was at that stage we were running 2 cars, basically with no sponsorship, and it wasn't fair to Grant, who was just starting his time, to not be able to put some money into his car when, we were trying to, it just was impossible financial-wise to run the 2. And I'd had a good innings, so it was time we sort of looked after him.
Do you miss the driving part of it?
Yeah, I did for a while. For the first couple of years, I sort of would have liked to get back out there. I knew I couldn't, so just a case of having to get used to it. And now I just really enjoy, working with Grant, being at the track, and being an official with the club, and doing something that I've loved all my life.
If I was guessing about what part of Grant's racing you would be proud of, I would guess that the fact he does so well with so little.
Yeah, that's exactly it. A lot of people don't realise that. I think in the last 12 years he's not been outside the top 10 in the track point score. He's probably 8 of those he's been in the top 5. He drives to be here next week, and he doesn't drive to put other drivers in trouble, which I'm, sort of proud of, really.
And he was telling me that it's very rare that you guys run new tyres, for example.
No, we can't. Without sponsorship, you can't run new tyres every week, so we try to stretch them as far as we can. There becomes a point where you can't run them anymore, but we stretch them as far as we can.
What do you miss about your racing career?
Not a lot. I would have liked to have, maybe for one season, done World Series.
Yep.
But in saying that, I got to race at most of the tracks they go to anyway. No, probably not a lot, because I'm still around the guys that I was with when I was racing.
What's changed? What's been the biggest change in the sport from when you raced to now?
Probably 410 engines and maybe tyres and suspension.
Now, in your time, the 410 engine thing's very interesting, because you were very much part of the leadership of the Sprintcar Association when Brian Healy came in, and Brian used a sledgehammer to get that concept into Australian sprint car racing. At the time, everyone thought, what are we doing? But the proof is in the pudding these days that there's so many cars. His legacy is that. But at the time, that must have been a tough call for you as president of the club.
Yeah, it was and it wasn't. I had several trips to America, and I could see the value of the 410, and we were bringing more and more cars out from America, and I couldn't see the point in not bringing engines, which are most definitely cheaper than a 372, in as much as the 372 was a hybrid. It was a mixture, and where 410 was a straight off the shelf deal. And just as an example, the last year of 372s, I remember getting a set of pistons for John Shaw. It cost like $2,200. The following season, I got a set of pistons from my own mate. It was $1,100.
Half the price.
The cost was just, 410s took a lot of cost out of the engine. Not out of the race car, but out of the engine.
I mean, you couldn't have been more involved than you were, Bob. You were a racer, you were part of the club, and you also had Tunks speed shop, so there wasn't much else you could do.
No, probably not. It's been my life since probably 1964 when I started, through the early days of the showground and Westmead and Windsor, Liverpool, those tracks, and I got a record I'm proud of here at Parramatta. I think in all the 30-odd years it's been going, I've missed one show, one sprint car show.
Is that right? As a spectator or a driver?
Oh, well, as a driver or an owner,
or
an official, I've missed one show, one sprint car show.
What was your excuse?
I was in hospital.
Oh, that's no good excuse. I guess in the modern day you could have at least watched Clay per view if we'd had it back then.
I could have, yeah. They let me out the following week, and I had kidney stones. They put a tube in my back and took it out here and down to the bowel of the kidney or whatever. So I packed some sponge rubber around it and went racing that week, so I only missed the 1 week.
Your lovely wife is sitting about 4 seats from you at the moment, probably hiding from this camera. What is it that has allowed you to do what you've done? Because she's let you pretty well live the life you wanted to live.
I could probably sum it up best by saying if Australia had a treasurer, like my wife, Australia would not be in any trouble.
She's kept a close eye on that.
Yeah, without her, both myself and Grant I couldn't have raced as long as I did, and Grant couldn't race now.
Yeah.
Because without sponsorship, it's just the way that the Corrie manages the money.
There's two grandsons that you would think may have something to do with racing. At least one of them is very good at soccer, and one appears to have the passion for racing. Do you see that happening one day?
Oh yeah, the eldest one's already been onto his grandmother. We informed her that Jordan Brazier started when he was 16, so Jake's only got about 9 years to go or something, 8 years to go.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't mind. Speedway's been very good to me. I've made a lot of friends, a lot of lifetime friends. And I don't think I would have done anything else.
Yeah. It's had some highs and lows for you.
Oh yeah, but that's the same in any sport, isn't it? You can play football and have an ear reconstruction, or Speedway's just like anything else. It has its good and its bad, but we've had more good times.
What's the best part about Speedway?
Probably the friendship of an elite group of people that I've met over the years, and having the opportunity over the amount of time that I race to race with some very good drivers.
Yeah. Who would you rate?
As the best, or as a group?
As the best, and as someone you just enjoyed racing.
Okay, early in the early times it was Dick Britton and Donny Fortune, and then you went through the Gary Rush, George Tatnell era. But I think as far as an outright racer and a very fair racer, probably one of the best I've seen is Max Dunphy.
Bob, you're with your eyesight, that's failing on you, and it has been for a little while now. How do you cope with that? How do you still experience what you experience with that? Is it macular degeneration? Is that what happens?
Yeah, it's called macular degeneration, and it's something they haven't got a clue what causes it, and they don't know how to fix it. So we sort of stuck with it. But I've been coming around here since we helped helping build the place, our club, when I was West President in the early days, and so I know every inch of the place. And it's a strange thing about it. And at the night time, when the light is the artificial light, it's not too bad. It's the daytime when the sun's glary that is the worst problem. But I find get myself around okay. I getting to the stage now. I'm from the pits. I can only probably see the first half of the racetrack. But I usually have Corrie or one of the mates will stand with me and tell me what's going on up the other end if I can't see it. So
yeah,
and you get to hear you can tell by the motors, who's on the pedal and who's not on the pedal. You work, you get around things. There's guys worse off than me. So
you can still tell Grant, what did you do that for?
Yeah, for as long as he does it between halfway down the back straight through 3 and 4 and up to the start line. If he does it up the other end, I'm stuck. But he's got a pretty fair critic sitting just here that you can tell him what he does up that end anyway.
Yeah. Bob, your contribution to our sport has been phenomenal. As a racer, as an owner, as an administrator, as a proprietor, there's nothing you haven't done. When you look back on it all, do you have any regrets?
No, not really. No, there's been, as I say, everyone has a couple of down times in it, but no, I've got no regrets at all. I think it's a wonderful sport. It's a really, when you sit and look at it, the amount of kids that have come up, the fathers that I race with, now their kids race, and even in the case of young Sam Walsh, I raced with his grandfather, and then I raced with his father, and I didn't get to race with Sam, but Sam's racing now, and I get to race, with George and Brooke Tatnell, the two Gary Rushes, the Fars. It's just when you look at it, Speedway is it's a family deal, and while I don't think it's a better sport. It's a better sport in the world actually, and you get to make friends, both here and in America.